So yeah, if that covers everything, then let's head into the interview. I know Dalton G is waiting here patiently for us.
Yeah, what's up? How's it going?
Not bad. How are you?
Good, good. Thanks for asking me to be interviewed. It's an honor. So happy to
Of
be here.
course. Well, we're happy to have you. I know we want to feature all of our members that stand out, and you're certainly one of them. So how did you end up doing this week overall?
This week I took some modest profits on a couple of swings I was holding, and ended up just entering in some like longer term swings. I've been with how volatile it's been. I've been just buying more time on my contracts and
Mhm.
holding them for longer, and um, that's tend to work out well. I think it's been less stressful too because when you have more time on the contract, they don't move as drastically. So, Apple, say if it was Apple, they might sell off at the end of the day, but then your contract's only down maybe 10%. So it's it's been working for me at least for the past few weeks with the volatility. So.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, we all had to kind of adjust our strategies a little bit. What are some of the stocks that you're holding long term now?
So right now, and when I say long term, I mean really like they expire at the end of the month. But I at least have a few weeks, more than 1 week at least, on them.
Okay.
Um, but I have Apple, AMD. I got in the Run call today, and I'm also holding PayPal and Walmart.
Not bad. I'm a huge PayPal fan myself.
Yeah, I'm ready. It should be moving pretty good, especially with their earnings coming up. I think it should be a pretty good ride up.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, all the fintech stocks like Square, Paychex, PayPal, those are all taking in a lot of money with the online business and electronic payments kind of being the new norm.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, so before we get too carried away here, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got started trading?
Yeah, absolutely. So my name is Dalton Grados. I'm 24 years old. Live here in Tampa, Florida. And how I got started trading. So I was actually after college, I was a financial advisor for a firm called Northwestern Mutual, which was actually more focused on the insurance side. At least in the for the newer advisors, they focus more on insurance because that's where you make the majority of your commissions, and then the guys that are in the career later on, they really build more of their wealth through their investment clients. Um, but I was in that, and hats off to anyone who has been in a business like that or similar to that, where you're responsible for getting all your own clients and it's 100%
Mhm.
commission. Um, it was definitely a grind, but it taught me a lot. And so part of that job, I would always be on the phone calling on people, trying to get these people as clients and trying to set up meetings with people. And so whenever I would call people, I would talk about um, financial planning, and if we could sit down and maybe have an introductory meeting. And so when you mentioned financial advising, financial planning, I would come across people that were traders, and they would start talking to me about trading, and I was like, and then I started listening to them, and I was like, oh, that's really interesting. Well, hey, and I would almost flip the script. I was like, I don't know if I'll be any benefit to you, but I actually would like to meet with you to learn a little bit more about what you do.
Funny how that works out. Yeah.
Yeah, instead of trying to sell you something, like I'm actually more interested in hearing. It was just interesting to me that people could make a living
Mhm.
just sitting at home trading stocks and not have to report to a boss, not have to dress up and go to an office or hammer the phones and cold call people like I was doing all day.
Mhm.
So that's how I kind of got introduced to it. I met with a couple of people that were into trading, and it was still kind of seemed complex to me. If you've never seen like a chart before in your life, and someone starts showing you these charts and lines and stuff, it's very foreign. It just seems very complicated, and so it was always like that interest there, but I never really dug deep into it.
Mhm.
Um, well, then the pandemic hit, and So everything's, we started locking down, and my business, so my advising business, I was still really grinding and trying to get it off the ground. I wasn't really producing good results yet. And when the lockdown started, that really all went to zero. I mean, I was already not doing too well, and then it went from like not too well to like just completely like no meetings for the week,
Ooh.
no new clients, and it started dying. And I had a quarterly review with our managing partner, and it was really it was a hard conversation, but it was a good conversation. It was what I needed to face was the reality was that business was not working out for me, and I was putting in all the work, but it just really wasn't going anywhere. And I kind of had a choice to make. I either double down or I see what else is out there. And so um, at the time, we were this was at the beginning of like 2 weeks to slow the spread. So we were all in our houses and nobody knew what was going on. And
Hmm.
so I decided to phase out of that business. But we had nothing else to do besides sit at home. And so I dove deep into trading. I mean, all day, every day was just educating myself with videos. And I actually did, there's a guy on YouTube, Ricky Gutierrez. I actually went ahead and bought his course and did that. And that was kind of a nice introductory course because it was just kind of A to Z, like complete newbie to teaching you about technical analysis and the basics of, um, all the indicators we use and supports and resistances and stuff like that. And so that was a good intro to get me started in trading. And then I started doing a little bit better in trading than I was in my previous business because at least with trading, I could know at the end of the day if I made or lost money. Whereas in the business of selling investments and insurance, you're trying to acquire clients and you're spending all this time meeting with people, and it's a very long sales process before you actually get a paycheck. So you could be meeting with people all day and not know really if you're going to actually make money off of those people. It's really just a pure numbers game. But
Right.
with trading, I was actually doing better for myself because I was like, oh, well, I just made $100 today, like, you know. So, so that's really what put me on the path to really pursue trading.
Yeah. So that kind of, answers the question of, is this something that you could see yourself doing full time then?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And in fact, I tell people, trading is my business. And I use that word very intentionally, my business, because just like any business, if you're going to start up, say you're going to start up a restaurant or something like that, there's 5 stages to starting up a business. There's the development stage, the startup stage, the growth stage, the what's the third one? The It's like after the growth stage, and then there's the expansion stage, and then there's the maturity stage. So I'm really thinking of this as my business. First being the developmental stage, that comes before the startup, right? So that's where you're really just diving deep and learning everything you can about the business and becoming as skilled as you possibly can before you actually are even putting money in the market. And then there's the startup stage, and that's really where a business is just starting up, working the kinks out, maybe not even making profits yet, but you're at least getting your business going. And so I would say I'm still probably conservatively speaking, maybe in the startup stage, heading towards the growth stage where I'm building my portfolio. Um, and so thinking of trading that way as far as instead of just oh I'm just gonna do day trading, like no, this is my business, helps kind of put things in perspective. And so yes, this is my full-time business. I do have part-time gigs on the side that allow me to pay my bills, but fortunately the way I've set it up is those part-time gigs don't get in the way of my trading. So
Well, that's smart, and that's great that you're able to, manage the two of, or however many gigs you have, rather, with the trading and be able to focus on it in a very serious way.
yeah, yeah, no, absolutely.
So, what was one of the roadblocks that you had initially that you had to overcome?
Um, let's see. I think probably the biggest thing. Um, so coming from a sales background, I already had a little bit better like emotional resilience because I was used to always being like rejected on the phone and like clients canceling meetings and stuff like that. Um, but I would say even still coming into trading, there's still like an emotional hurdle of just becoming okay with losses and limiting your losses and really getting risk management in place. Um, so in the beginning, definitely I learned the hard way about position sizing, and that was the biggest thing, really, I would say, is just position sizing.
So you mentioned the risk management. Can you talk a little bit about what your personal rules for that look like?
Yeah, so my personal rules for that, typically I would want no more than 5% of my account size in a given trade, and then typically like to sit on about 70% of cash. Um, Now, right now, I'm went back and I'm growing a smaller account now, so I break those rules a little bit just to be able to get like, say if you have a $500 account, well, there's not maybe not many contracts that are less than $100, so but
Yeah.
still, cutting losses earlier, um, it helps with that. But generally, if I had say a 5-10 grand account, those would be the rules I would go by.
Mhm. So, as in terms of trading and picking positions, what does your setup look like? What does your routine for picking a position look like?
Well, typically, I want to look at the larger time frames, so like the daily and the 4 hour, and just look for any patterns or indicators. If like on PayPal, I saw there was like just a perfect inverse head and shoulders, and then there was like a golden cross on the 1 hour, and so that was like really solid technical indicators. And then also just paying attention to the market it's in general, seeing which direction the market is going, news, um, and like a lot of, I mean, this Discord is really just a great resource too. I mean, you can just scroll through the chat and then just learn about all these different things that are going on in the marketplace and what different people are looking at. So then I'll go and look at it myself and see if it's something I see value into. So
Hmm.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah, that's one of my favorite parts of the Discord and in general having a community like this is there's 100 different people looking at 100 different things, and that
yeah,
can spark a lot of ideas and a lot of different trades for us.
absolutely.
So, do you have like a favorite group of stocks that you play, or is it kind of whatever's hot that day?
Yeah, I mean, I typically focus on bigger blue chip stocks, and um, lately it's been mostly tech. I think just because tech has been moving the most. So like Apple, AMD, Nvidia, Square, and like fintech, like you mentioned, kind of lumped in there. Um, so those would be probably have been taking the majority of my trades, but then we you spend enough time trading and you start to see kind of these patterns of where the money doesn't die and go to money heaven. It shifts in different sectors, right?
Yep.
So then all of a sudden you'll see the money leaving tech and moving into finance in the banks or in energy or something like that. So just kind of
Yep.
paying attention to that. Um, but I think lately, just with the environment, it tends to seem that tech stocks are just generally more bullish lately.
Yeah. Well, most of them are pandemic proof, like we talked about.
Yeah.
So, what brokerage are you using with all this? Or are you using something else to chart and something to trade? How does that look?
Yeah, I just use TOS, Thinkorswim, and I've been using that from the beginning. So I mentioned I had taken Ricky Gutierrez his course, and he
Mhm.
doesn't trade options, but it was a good course to just learn the fundamentals, and that's what he uses. And I was like, I'm just gonna go straight for what the pros use. So.
Right. So, if he didn't, or if he doesn't trade options, what kind of pushed you towards options as opposed to just stocks in general?
Yeah, so good question actually, and I have to give credit to Matt, our leader here, or I guess he's now an educator. But uh, Matt, so he had posted his profits in um, the Learn Plan Profit Facebook group, which is Ricky's like Facebook group. And I saw his profits that he made like I think $1,500 that day off of a Zoom call, and I was like, wow, that's impressive, man. And I saw his Facebook, and we're actually in the same city. We're both in Tampa, and
Small world.
we haven't met yet in person. We will soon enough. But I saw he was in Tampa, and I was like, hey man, that's I actually like commented on it. I was like, hey man, that's cool. You're in Tampa. I just started trading and starting my business in trading too. Like maybe we should link up. And then he introduced me to this group, Trading Alphas, and introduced me to options. And he was at the beginning, options were foreign to me, but he was kind of telling me about how they work and how you use leverage and can get much higher percentages. So then from then on, I spent even more time educating myself on what options actually are and um, everything like that, and joined the Discord.
Fair enough. Well, hopefully you'll be hanging around for quite a while with us.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So, are there any trades, good or bad or both, that stand out to you to this day?
Yeah, definitely. I would say when I was brand new to trading alphas, and you watch interviews with a lot of successful traders, and they all kind of have this similar beginning story where they kind of got lucky on like one of their first trades, and they were like, "Whoa, I just made so much. This is easy." Like, and then it's kind of like the Dunning-Kruger effect that sometimes we talk about in here, where you're like super confident right from the get-go, and then you kind of realize the reality of it. But yeah, so in the very beginning, I followed a Clark call on Roku. It was like back in April, and it ended up being like 400% overnight. And at the time, I had actually put in more than would have been proper risk management, but I didn't know any better. So I
Hmm.
made like $1,600 off that one trade, and coming from 100% commission career, that was like a good amount of money. So I remember that trade, and I because I didn't know what I was doing, and I quickly gave those profits back to the market. But it was important to have that experience because it showed me what was possible, and um, and that gave me the motivation to dig deeper and want to just keep trading, keep learning, and keep getting better.
Yeah, I like that you point out that it was important to have that experience because I know Adham talked about it. I've talked about it. We all kind of have that one holy crap trade, and then we give a lot of it or all of it back. And it's a
Hmm.
little humbling to have that experience. And then we learn the risk management and how much we should be putting here and there and how to go
Yeah,
about it in a proper manner, so to speak.
yeah, absolutely.
So, what are your goals for trading or for the future in general? Like, I know you said you want to do this full time, but anything specific in that aspect?
Yeah, man. So I like to think big. I have big goals, and I have to give credit really to this group for also showing me what is possible. It's really inspiring to see a lot of the big traders and a lot of their profits. So I always say I did not start trading to make hundreds of thousands of dollars a year. I started trading to make hundreds of thousands of dollars a month. And even then, I think that might be thinking too small. But at least maybe that's a good starting point is 100 grand a month. But I mean, I've seen people right here make a couple 100 grand in a day, and so the possibilities are limitless. And um, at the end of the day, it's really just a number. Is 100 grand in a day? Uh, is it a big number? Is it a small number? Well, no, it's just a number. If Tesla as a company only made 100 grand in a day, they'd be going bankrupt. So thinking about it like that really forces you to think bigger. Think more about what's possible,
Mhm.
and there's no cap. So.
Oh yeah, when you see numbers like that, it kind of puts it in perspective. Like that's a life changing amount of money for somebody like us, but a detrimental amount of money for somebody like Tesla.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
So, so what are the things that you still struggle with to this day?
So, I was actually thinking about this question because I was thinking it would come up. And I would say it's always been a fine line for me between letting winners run and taking profits. You know, it's always good to take profits. No one ever went broke taking profits. It's our job in the marketplace to pull profits. But then you also want to let your winners run and cut your losers short. And so that's always a fine line for me. Lately, at least with just the market being not as predictable, I have tended to take my profits sooner just to go ahead. I mean, green is green, and that's at the end of the day what we're looking for.
For
Maybe
sure.
in a more, yeah, maybe in a more stable environment, maybe we can let them run longer. But yeah, it's always just kind of balancing that fine line.
So have you found that you've needed to adjust to like lower profits and day trading over swinging, or just lower profits in general?
Yeah, I mean, lately, like if I mean, I guess it kind of depends on what the charts are looking like too. If it's getting maybe towards the end of the day, and say I'm up 30%, and
Hmm.
maybe SPY is starting to sell off because it's the end of the day, then I'm just going to go ahead and take that profit.
Hmm.
So yeah, maybe just taking less profits, but I mean that's still a good amount. If you think about, we commonly see Clark and the other leaders posting 100%, several 100% plays. I mean, just stop and think about that, for instance. Like, that's insane. Like,
Oh yeah.
100% is literally double your money. Um, that doesn't have to be every trade. Like 30% is a great amount of return. So just kind of being humble and being satisfied with your profits, and you know focusing on taking the green trades.
Yeah, for sure. Well, like you said, you never or you'll never go broke from taking profits. Whether that's 30% or 100% or 500%.
Yeah,
And definitely the 30% is a little bit more obtainable. I won't say realistic because we hit all those numbers, but definitely more obtainable for sure.
yeah, yeah, absolutely.
So, one of the things that they say is that 98% of traders fail. Now, what do you think that reason is, and how did you overcome that reason?
Yeah, absolutely. So I really think it goes back to what I was saying earlier about treating this like a business, and like those stages I was talking about. If you were starting any other business, if you were starting a restaurant or a dealership or something like that, or a real estate business, you would go through the developmental, startup, growth stage, the expansion, and maturation. So thinking about it in that sense, a lot of people come into trading, they just want to make quick money. They think it's easy. Um, they think that you're just going to get rich right away. And it's
Hmm.
like, no, I mean, you could get lucky on a couple trades,
Oh
especially
yeah.
if you just throw a lot of money at something YOLO and it just happens to go well for you. But you can lose it just as quickly if you go about it that way. So really take this seriously. And if you want to, do it for the rest of your life, like treat it like your business. And I think that's the where people get, weeded out, is they're just looking for a quick buck.
So I think that kind of answers, the last question that I had, which would have been, what's your best piece of advice to new traders? Do you want to add on to that, or do you think you kind of hit the nail on the head?
Yeah, I mean, I think that definitely goes with it. And I think another thing would just be, uh, never stop learning. Always getting better. Don't get too mad about your losses, but also don't get too proud about your profits. Just kind of stay even, stay level-headed. You hear about traders, they get on what they call a tilt, which is kind of like where they're psychologically bent one way or the other. Either they're overconfident because they just had some wins, or they think they suck because they just lost. You don't want to be either one. You kind of want to just stay level-headed and manage your emotions, and and definitely along with that, exercising, having other hobbies, meditating. I even listen to affirmations as I go to sleep, and that actually helps. Not to be like woo woo, but it actually helps like program your subconscious mind to with
Hmm.
affirmations. Those things are really important because it's really mostly a mental game. So
Yeah, definitely a mental game and finding that balance, like you mentioned there.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that kind of answers all the questions that I had. I love your attitude. I think this was a great interview. So I'm going to hand it off to Ryan now and see if he had any questions. And I'm actually driving at the moment. So Ryan, if there's any questions in the chat from other members, if you could fire those off, that would be great.
Okay. Yeah, I just wanted to commend your mentality, man. I love the positivity, and I've seen your work ethic as well. I've seen you at a lot of the Q&As. So, good job, man. You're doing good.
I appreciate it, man.
Yes, sir.
Love being here.
But anyone have any questions for Dalton in the chat? Any other general questions too? Feel free to type in Alpha Lounge. We got one here. And, what was the name of the course you took again?
Yep. Yeah, so that was Learn, Plan, Profit by Ricky Gutierrez. And it's basically just a video course. I think he charges like $300 for it. And it was good. I mean, it just kind of puts it like A to Z, like I know nothing about stocks and it kind of like takes you from there in order. But I would say, honestly, after joining this group, there is so many resources. If you go to the courses section, the books, videos, podcast education, like right here in the Discord, there's so much available.
Yeah, that's definitely one of our main goals is to, educate people. And I just love to see when people utilize their subscription, like such as yourself,
Yeah.
showing up to the Q&As on demand, whatever we're
Yeah.
offering. So thank you.
Yeah, and even studying in your off time, like there's in the books section in the Discord, there's a ton of books. I mean, you probably couldn't read all of them, but there is one in particular on just the candlesticks, like reading the price action. I think the book's just called like Japanese Candlestick Charting. I read that book, and that really helped just because we use the indicators and stuff, but just plainly reading the candles and seeing that how the price action moves, that really helped me as well.
Has that kind of helped you with swinging or just kind of more day trading?
Well, I would say both because it works on, depending on different time frames, right? So, if you see like a bullish hammer on a daily chart, that can be great for swings. And then same thing with day trading. If you're just looking at a 5-minute or 15-minute chart, seeing where the candles and price action is stronger, what's a bullish candle, what's a bearish candle, different patterns that they go in, like the three white soldiers and all of that. Like that's been really helpful, and really just depending on the time frame that you're looking at, can determine kind of how much confirmation that candle is giving.
Definitely. Any other questions? Don't be shy.
I do want to add, I know you said that you took a lot of value from that course. Do you think, what do you think had a greater impact on you? Learning everything you can, whether it's through that course or other resources, or the experience and time in the market?
Oh, definitely time in the market. Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, someone like, even like a lot of the leaders here, that have several years of experience, there's just so many things you pick up along the way. Even so, I've been in this group since beginning of April, and there's just so many things just from spending that screen time that you start to kind of gain knowledge of that you wouldn't have just learned from someone else. I don't know, like just being able to kind of see things as they happen. And
Yeah, it's like a lot of stuff kind of becomes second nature. You just see it quicker, pick up on it quicker.
yeah, exactly. And even things like, just this week when Trump tweeted about the stimulus and everything crashed, and it was like, well, by this time it wasn't my first rodeo, so I was like, okay, it's an overreaction. It'll come up tomorrow, and then sure enough, we recovered fully tomorrow or the next day. So yeah.
So Darren asked, what keeps you committed to options? You sound very dedicated to the process, interested to see what your drive is.
Yeah, man. I appreciate the question. I've really always been like a very driven and motivated person in general. Like even my previous career was 100% commission sales, and you know, and but I think really what motivates me, the reason why I want to succeed at trading is because um, I really value individual freedom, and I view freedom two ways: freedom in um, financial independence and freedom with my time. Right? So I could be a lawyer and have financial independence, but I'm really not free because maybe I'm just chained to my desk 12 hours a day. So both having both of those freedom with time and money is really what motivates me to do this. Like I said, I'm 24, so it's like this is the time to build something for myself. I don't want to fall into the traps of wake up 20 years later and oh, what did I do with my life? I want to do it now.
Yeah, you make a good point there. There's a handful of us leaders and people in the group here who are, I mean, I'm 26, but a lot of people are 34, 40, 55 years old. And I wish I was like half of you guys where I started doing this at 19 and 20.
Yeah,
You guys have one hell of a head start.
yeah, absolutely.
For sure. Yeah. So, Ryan, any other questions in chat, or do you think that kind of concludes it all?
I think that's it. If anyone wants to send a last second remark or anything.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Dalton. This was a fantastic interview. You had a lot to say, and I appreciate that. It makes our jobs easier as interviewers, and I think the members love, hearing everything you had to say about your experience and how it impacts your trading. And from my experience, everybody loves the interviews because we all like to know how each other is doing and how we get to where we are.
Absolutely. Well, I appreciate you having me, and I enjoy educating and motivating as well. And so I actually recently had started up a YouTube channel. It's just called Grados Capital. That's my last name, Grados Capital, and I post market stuff on there, tips for traders and just general motivation as well. So I'm going to be building that up also.
Awesome. Well, we'll be keeping an eye on that and make sure that you type out any plugs that you want to give and anywhere that you want us to go check out.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So thanks again. I'm going to let you go ahead and mute yourself, and then we'll kind of head into a little Q&A action here and just a discussion of what happened this week. And if anybody wants to chime in, feel free.
Yeah. Thanks, guys.